All right, guys, 24th of April. So let's check it out with, well, let's start with gold, euro, dollar, Dow Jones, as usual, and then we'll go to Bitcoin, NASDAQ, SP 500. Now, here we got gold. Okay, let's make this a little bigger. Okay, so it's the daily. Remember, with the gold, we're looking for a push downwards and a retracement down. So this thing should be coming down. So the question is where you want to sell it off. On the weekly, yeah, I don't think it'll be going up all that far, but we'd like to sell this down. Okay, so on the daily, if it pulls up, you can. What would that be? 1990. 99. If we go up to the weekly pivot, this is where you need to sell. Okay, remember last week? This is Friday. I drew these levels on Friday for you. That's your Friday. That was the zone. That was the Astro hour. Didn't quite make it there at the right time, but we said we'd cover the gap. And if you want to sell, this would be your sell zone. Okay, remember I said it'll come up. It'll probably come up to at least here. And at the Astro hours, this is where you should have sold off. Never mind if you didn't, but if it comes back up to the weekly, I think it's good to sell at Astro hours. So I'm going to get rid of that. The targets should be HCL1, that's going to be 1941. So 1941 is way, way down here. Okay, let's take a look at the weekly. I've got the 55, which is 1930, and that's going to be down here. Okay, so 1941, 1930. On the daily, the other one's way, way down here, which is 1892. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, right? So any push up, we want to be selling down. We talked about the 1, 2, 3 tap, ending diagonal. We should have an A, B, C down, fill in the gap. If we're going to go up, then we should go up. Okay, so that's the gap over here, and we said we should at least get down to here. Okay, and then if the market's going to go up, so if this is going to be A, then we should have a B, and then we should have a C down, if that's how it's going to eventuate. So the resistance at 52 is also 1995. So if the market does come up, you want to mark in 1995, which is there. Okay, so if the market does come up there, that's also fine. That's going to be your zone again. All right, so the daily and there is good to sell. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of these other ones because you see, they've already done it. I talked about that goodbye kiss last week, so this is all done. Bye-bye to these lines. Let's do a bye-bye to that. That's our setup for gold. Euro dollar. Same kind of thing here, remember, with the euro dollar. That's the weekly there. We said we dip down. Okay, so down, pull up, push down. So this is going to be like a retracement. You can see it's becoming a flag formation. So pushing it down into this zone at least is going to be good. So I'm just going to move this here and do that. So we should get into this zone. All right. And then that's 52. So you could target that 52, which is 1.0940. 1.0940 there. Okay, so you could target this, not a problem. Whoopsie daisy, let's do this. Okay, so you could target this zone here. And today, the end of day is going to be all the way there, so we could do that. This purple zone, remember I drew this in way, way before, all the way from here, as you can see, right? And that worked out pretty good for us, as you can see. Like, it just kept everything nice and easy. Did the sweeps inside this zone as well. And look, we're still in that zone today. All right, we're still in that zone today. So we should expect the market to come down and break into, let's see where. The daily, like I said, is there. If we break below that, we should head into that zone, which should be the case. Okay, so this 1940-30 zone, sorry, 1.0940-30 zone, this is going to be your zone. Okay, this will be the support zone, but we should break below it because we should head down into this zone. Okay, and then this should break as well. So on the weekly, that we've got a long way to come down on the weekly, as you can see here. Take this line as a guideline. $1.0870, which is down here. Okay, so yep, selling doesn't look like a bad idea. Obviously, we're going sideways if you take a look at this. Okay, so got that upward sideways motion. Okay, and the market has not broken any swings on the low side. Okay, so you got to be smart here. They sold off here. That's a good impulse wave, and they kept selling, which is a good sign, but haven't broken the swing yet. Okay, so what we want to do is sell again with an expectation that the market will break the swing. Okay, there's also some kind of there'll be a trend line liquidity here. Okay, I don't suspect it's going to be a big one, but at the end of the day, that's pretty much how it's going to be. So we should dip down here at least. Okay, now if you want to sell, wait for the market to come up. Let me get rid of this and that. Let's get rid of those. 70, that's 1134. That is just going to be too high. 71, 1050. 1050, you know what, I'm going to put that there because if it gets to 1050, that's going to be a sweet spot to sell. There. Okay, so keep that in mind. Why? Because there's a bit of a gap there. Okay, and that's looking good. So, okay, keep an eye out for that one. Do not disregard a level if it's on your PST. Okay, because the market will make you pay for it. There's also, yeah, this will also like test it up here. It could. So if it breaks above that, look out for that 1050. Dow Jones, let's take a look. Now with Dow Jones, as you know, last week I've been saying we need to sell, sell, sell from the tops. Beautiful breakdown if you're selling. Well, you should have been selling because we talked about that level as well, 58.22. And last week, if you sold, you would have been fine. I talked about this level. That was an Astro Hour on Friday. Look at that. It's Friday. It's the weekly pivot. Bang, right in there. Okay, beauty. And look what happens towards the closing. It comes into that PST zone there again and then just sizzles down that, which is exactly what we want to be seeing. So let's take a look at the weekly today. Now look, the weekly, well, it's just way, way down. So this baby needs to come down. At least we need to come into that 32.976 or 786. So we need to pop down to that 47.32.827. 32.775 on the daily. 46, it's going to be the closest. 33.407. It's okay, so 33.407, 33.302. There. Okay, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So let's get rid of this because we don't need that there now. What we need to do is get rid of that. It's done. Let's get rid of these. Now this is going to be the low of last week, and that's your indecision zone there. Okay, and the low of last week is going to be right there. Correct. Okay, this level should break. Okay, so we should be breaking below this. Obviously no selling here, right? The market will go up because it will come back to Asia high to retest. If I was to mark that in, the market should come back into this zone here. Okay, this should be the zone. If it comes back here, this is going to be a sell zone, and obviously high of Friday, Thursday will be a testing zone because it's got the weekly pivot there. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to keep that weekly pivot there, okay, and I'm just going to narrow this down into this zone. Okay, so we've got two levels. It should come up. If you want to buy, you can buy from these levels to push up, okay, and then you can look to sell because we should break downwards, in my opinion, simply because the PST is breaking down. All right, and that's a good sign. That level 58 is 33,737. 33,737 is there, but we should have that one, so I'm not going to take that into consideration. The HCL1 line is 33,816. 33,816 is just there. All right, so you got to take this level into account. Okay, and that's it basically. So if we go up, those are going to be your sell zones. On the weekly, that 58 is going to be 34,164, but 34,164 is too high, and the market already did that high last week. So I don't see it coming all the way. 34,1. Let's see. 58. 34,164. 34,164. Will it do it? Wow. I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to keep that there. So this zone being this zone here is doable. Just keep in mind this gap here. Okay. And that is just under there. I'm not sure if it's going to go that high. That'll be just a bit tricky, because then we'll have to go all the way back up here and then push down, which will be a bit far-fetched. Okay, but what I'll do is this. I'm going to take that and the low of that. All right, because that's the indecision bar there with the action done right in the middle there. So if it dips up, we'll look to sell again. Okay, but it looks a bit too far out. Only if it breaks above there and so on, because that's 71. That's just going to be too far out. Okay, that's it. So if the market does push up a little bit into this zone, this should be the major place where the sell will happen. Okay. Now let's take a look at SP 500, Nasdaq, and Bitcoin. As you know, indices generally go together. So if my setup for Dow Jones should be correct, then SP 500 and Nasdaq should also retrace up, and then should kind of like sell off as well. But let's see what the chart is looking like. As you know, I was not working on Friday. I don't work on Fridays. So we'll see how the market did. All right, so let's take a look at SP 500. Now we're coming towards the end of April, right? Last week of April here, as you can see. The market, as you can see, is like stood its ground and has not breached this resistance on the PST. And the price is up there as well, nice and easy. So if this is going to be like a downwards motion, it's going to be like an A, B, C kind of thing. Okay. 1, 2. Wow, it's just going to be huge. Okay, fair enough. Let's see on the weekly. This is the weekly. So this, like the Dow Jones, I'm looking to sell from this zone, okay? Now that level 60 I will take into consideration 4,194. 4,194. It is, oh my God, that is just so far out. But I'm going to keep it in mind. Okay, let's take a look at the daily. Ah, nice. Okay, so this is good. Now look, today it may come down a little bit more. Tomorrow might push up for the goodbye kiss and we could go down, or we could come back up to that 58, which would be the way to go. 4125, 4,125, which is there. Okay, so there's a gap here. Oh, this looks good. Let me just get rid of these. So looking like pretty much what the Dow would do as well. So just put your timelines like I have here as well. The weekly pivot we want to take into consideration, okay? And the Asia session is there with the daily pivot. This is what we also want to take into consideration. So, and there's a bit of a gap here, so this is where you want to take into consideration. Okay, so that's your zone, plus the weekly pivot, obviously. All right, so okay, so that's there, and there is no gap. It closed the gap. I talked about this gap last week. If you sold here, you would have been in the money because that was the gap I spoke about as well. I said it'll fill in the gaps, and then that's how it's sold. Even if you sold around here, okay, because that was an astro hour, you should have been okay because your stop loss needed to be above the gap in any case. Okay, so this week that's your weekly pivot. Let's take a look at the daily. Where should we going down to? 49.48, 4,095.92. That's going to be your zone. So we need to be getting into 95, 4,095. 4,092. That should be the level there. This is the low off last week. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to shade that in. Okay, you see it's already done that last week. What I'm going to do is this. Okay, it should bounce from here, go up. If the sell happens, then they should sell it off. Okay, this is a beautiful thing there. As you can see in the market, closed the gap there. So if it pulls back into the weekly pivot, that's going to be your sell zone there. Okay, so that's what I should expect. If it breaks down, well, then what can you do? Then you're going to have to wait for the market to come up and then sell down. Okay, if it breaks down, wait to go up and then sell down into the astro hours. But New York hasn't opened yet. It's Monday, right? So they'd like to go and take it up a little bit before they sell it off. So in the opening first hour, hour and a half, if we go up into an astro hour, we want to be looking to sell to push down. NASDAQ, let's take a look. Same kind of thing here, guys. Oh, that's nice. 55, 13,022. Now that's the kind of thing that I'd like to see. The market coming up here and selling off. And oh, that's the gap. There's still a bit of a gap there. But this is what I'd like to see. Okay, so this is pretty cool. If we come back up, I'd like to sell it around here. Just be mindful of the gap. Okay, other than that, this is looking good. Let's get rid of these. These are from Thursday. And that's it. Make this a little bigger. Right, so the market actually, this zone is good to sell. Yeah, be open-minded for this because when there's a gap, I like to be careful. Despite the fact that it's taking a bit of it out, it's still a bit in there. Okay, as you can see, it's taking it up to about here, but there's still a gap there. So be mindful. and that one is 61, which is 13,134. Those are the two levels. So it's around here. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Okay, that's that. What about the first target? HCL1 12847. 12847 is there, so I'm going to get rid of this. On the weekly, 56 12811. So we should dip down, okay, and that's fine. So if we have a, if you go up to the opening of Asia, your white line, weekly pivot, astro hours, good to sell, be mindful for the gap. Bitcoin. Okay, I said Bitcoin would come down, so let's take a look. It's a new week, and that's good. Okay, so that's good. What's that? 28,723. 28,723. So we should be about here. Okay, so this is not a bad spot to come up to, and your weekly pivot, obviously. Okay, and then this zone will be a sell zone if we get up there. On the daily, we're on the support. The support is going to be 35, 27.93. So 27,093 is your support. Okay, so the market, if it breaks below that, we got room to come down, as you know. Let's see. Yeah, so we could still play around here a little bit, go up, good impulse wave that is, and then the market can come down a little bit more for retracement because we've got gaps to fill in down here, as you can see. Okay, so that's that basically. Remember I said don't buy at the tops because those were sell zones. The market should, I mean, it's obviously, as you can see, nice up move, okay? But if you want to buy Bitcoin, you got to be careful and not buy at levels where it's at the top, okay? If you want to buy and hold, wait for the levels where they can like get in there again, okay? So like here, but when you go long here, you got to understand there's a gap to be filled here. So you got to push it down and then go long, okay? So be a bit mindful. Now it's a good impulse wave. So the market popping up into HCL1, 28,398, 28, well, which is pretty much your weekly, okay? So it's good for it to kind of like push up and then we'll probably have a sell reaction, okay? And on the weekly, you got room to come down to 56, which is 26,575. So 26,575 is about there. Okay. Is there anything else? Yeah, if it breaks below that, we'll think about what to do afterwards. If you're using ATAM, you can do this as well. Okay. You can just draw that too, because that'll give you a good guideline too. All right. And that's basically it, as you can see. Okay. That's that.